The 4 months of the epidemic have gone by in an instant without much good news. There were other viruses, snowstorms, blizzards, fires, and earthquakes. All this was somehow happening in the shadow of the virus without much fanfare.
In the background.
Yes, in the background, but it did happen, and now Iran is working on nuclear weapons again. Look at what's going on in the US, unrest and riots. There's been no good news, and one has been exposed to it. So do tell me, how does one live with it, being influenced by all the horrible news that he's been flooded with over the last 4 to 5 months?
Let's decide at least to establish a week of positive thinking, only positive thoughts. You don't have to do anything else. Just think positive thoughts about others.
And you think it would be effective if we keep it up for a week?
Let's try it. What do we have to lose? I think that we have absolutely nothing to lose here.
No, clearly nothing to lose.
So?
It's just that generating such thoughts for a week sounds like pure fiction. We can dream with you about it, but I always think of relating to the common folk. So should one shield himself from it or not?
What is the problem? It doesn't cost anything to try.
This is true.
We don't have to postpone anything. We don't have to bring anything to a halt. We just have to live like this, throughout this week, to only talk about kind relations. But there's so much to gain from it. Let's try it and see. We must have the statistics to back it up. Suddenly we'll see what happens when we only think positive thoughts. If we only try.
How do we organize such action? Tell me, please, is it organized by some governing body?
Of course it has to come from above. Governments, UN, World Health Organization, UNESCO.
So we should just pause all political games and say we're going to try living this way for a week.
Yes, but the problem is, nobody would want to.
They wouldn't want to?
No, because it will become immediately apparent that we don't need anything else.
You always have this counterpoint at the end when you say, but this is impossible. You tell us, let's do it, and immediately follow up with, but this is impossible.
This is possible, yet impossible.
Yet impossible? Meaning nobody will go for it?
Indeed.
So then what is our practical advice?
There is none. Egoism will not allow us to do it.
So you believe that this would help, but that the ego will not allow us to go through with it?
Yes.
Here we come to a dead end again. Please help us out of it.
What I?
Well, let's assume...
What am I, Moses, leading the nation?
Anyhow, let's resolve this.
We'll have to abandon all egoistic interconnections.
All right.
We'll find ourselves face to face with enormous egoism, having no place to run. How would we go on without it? It is so dear to us.
So we want to have a week of only good thoughts, and we can't. We're faced with egoism that is telling us you'll never pull it off.
Correct.
Because you thus cancel me out.
Yes.
And it's good to be going through this state for such a state to become manifest?
Of course, then at least we're taking a step forward.
We'd understand what is standing in the way
Yes,
in this life.
but we won't be able to. We won't, like the comedian who spoke of the deficit, leave at least something lacking.
Yes, so there's something left for us. How should we conclude this discussion?
We need to try and explain this so that when the harder times come, the second, third wave of the virus, which will deliver a serious blow and make us all agree to this, at least to such half measures.
So we need to explain that this seems to be impossible now, and you know this to be impossible, but we must explain it nonetheless. We must talk about kind connections between people, about a week of positive thinking, etc. Is this all necessary?
We'll still arrive at it.
This will still be the result, right?
Yes, of course.
So will egoism finally concede?
No way. There will be a great war, an internal war of spiritual forces. The war of light and dark forces.
So we're still facing these wars, huh?
This is a biblical war that is described between the children of darkness and of light.
The struggle with egoism, of the forces of light with the
Yes.
ego. And how does it go? What does it result in? What's written about it?
The forces of light will eventually win, but only after a great inner struggle, which they'll have to undergo within themselves.
Meaning each person within himself?
Each person within himself.
Every single one?
Absolutely.
Of 8 billion people, each one has to go through all this?
Yes.
So in effect, the script has already been written.
We'll have to carry it out.
But it has been written, right?
Not entirely. There are such moments in there.
That involve my free will?
Absolutely.
Meaning that I have to make a choice.
Certainly. When I have to make a decision, and those are the most crucial, in general, everything comes down to the victory of the forces of light over the forces of darkness. But all the twists and special states, all is within our control. We determine it.
That is, if I remain in the same state, nothing will come out of it.
We'll have to exercise our free will at every moment and manage pressures in order to bring it to fruition. Everything will depend on us, even though everything is predetermined.
That sounds great, but it's so hard to understand. So a person will advance with the understanding of how beneficial it is for this light to prevail, right?
Right.
So he'll be constantly faced with darkness, realizing that he can't cope with it, that it's impossible, and still keep on going somehow?
Yes, of course. And we'll sprout like plants from the ground in a whole new way.
And what is this new way?
The altruistic society. This is no longer the society of this world. This is a totally different kind.
Is it a kind of birth?
Yes, it is a totally different emergence. And we'll partake in it in a new way, as forces, as thoughts, as the means of existence.
As you keep saying that the baby flips before being born, is this kind of flip about to happen?
Yes.
So the way I understand it, I can never overcome it, and suddenly everything flips upside down and I end up there.
Correct.
Is anything pushing us out, or do we do the work ourselves in being born?
Of course not. Everything is done by nature, by upper nature. It pushes us and gives birth to us.
So all we need to do is apply effort?
We must be aligned with it, go along with it, all of it. This will happen very quickly, imperceptibly. And all these viruses, they will accompany us until we reach our new birth.
So you're saying that the viruses are actually the forces that push us out?
Yes, they shape us, and they are doing everything. The important thing is not what they do in our world biologically, but instead that they create in us an attitude towards a whole new perception. This is the most important thing. Generally speaking, everything will turn out well.
That's how we end all our videos, by the way. Thank you.